Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February free class. Of course, tonight's Facebook Live is 2 cards. To earn the free class, place an order of $75 or more during the previous month. So in this case, during January, if you place an order of $75 or more, you will have received the kits for this class. So before I actually get started with the cards, I have a few reminders, and this one's a really important one. Free shipping. You can get free shipping on all orders of $65 or more until tomorrow, or until close of the website tomorrow, or the midnight tomorrow. So it is a $65 purchase to get your free shipping or to qualify for free shipping. However, if you do live local to me and you're interested in placing an order that is a little smaller than the 65, it might just be restocking on a couple of adhesives or some cardstock, please get your order to me. I do have a group shipping code that I have set up, so that will allow you to get the free shipping still, and your products will come to me and then I will drop them off. So that's why, if you're local to me, we can do that too, to help you out and save you on your shipping costs. So ends tomorrow. All right, the second quick reminder, and I'm going to get through these as quick as I can so we can get on with the fun stuff. Stampin' Up! Until the end of the month has a promotion. Actually, I think it's the 2nd of March promotion. When you join Stampin' Up!, you can get the Stampin' Positioner tool for free as a part of your kit. If you have questions about that, please let me know and I will be in contact to answer those questions. The fan's going, so I've actually got my papers blowing everywhere. Let me just get my computer sorted because I forgot to do that, and I'm going to get a little bit more light here as well. So just refreshing my computer just so that I can, let's mute that. Okay, so I'll be able to see any comments. So that's the second Stampin' Positioner one. Okay, so a couple of quick reminders for next week. So next week's classes, I actually don't have any classes, but I will be here on Tuesday and Thursday next week to do some Facebook Live. So Tuesday will be the usual one where I share a card of some sort with you. Thursday, I'm going to share another technique. So I shared a technique with you, I think it was last Thursday, with the background technique. I'm going to pick another technique to share with you that hasn't seen the light of day in my craft room for a long time. So next week's classes, and a couple of other things just to keep in mind. February monthly card class. This is a card class that comes to you. So the kits are popped in the mail. You'll get a written tutorial and also a video tutorial. Registration closes tomorrow, which is the 20th of Feb, for this particular class. And the March retreat, which is on the 21st and 22nd of March, registration closes next week, and that is the 28th of Feb. All the information about both of these can be found on my Facebook page. Okay, I've taken enough time with the reminders. I might touch on them again at the end, just particularly the free shipping one. So for the free class, the papers we are using are called Square Snippets. So I'm going to share with you these papers. So you get lots of patterns in each of these sheets. There are 3 sheets, but you actually get 3 of each. Okay, so there's lots of fun things that you can do with this paper. I'm going to show you or share with you a couple of examples of that. So let me just get rid of that. Okay, so there's the first one. Here we go with the second. Again, a really nice range of patterns, some nice colours in there, very usable. And the third sheet, again, still the same colours, different patterns, different ways that you can use these. So let me flip you over and show you the reverse side. So the reverse side is a little bit easier, not such a busy pattern. So we just have some of the blues, so some lines on both of these ones, and some fine flowers as well. So I'm hoping that showed up okay through my camera, because I'm not sure, being much softer colours, how they're showing up. Okay, so they are the papers that are going to be used. Okay, so card number 1. This one here. So you might have different pattern to what I've got. I've just, everyone probably got something slightly different, just the way that I cut these papers up. So this one, let me just grab this sheet. I have cut into this piece here. So I cut it just down here, and then I've got a small section and the larger section. So that's actually not 2 separate pieces of designer series paper. It's just the one using this. Okay, so what you've got in your kits, let's go through that. Let me just pop that up the top there. Of course, you'll have your envelope. There is the half sheet of the thick white A4, which I have scored. 2 pieces of strawberry slush, which is one of the in colors. You may have that color. It was a color, an in color a little while ago that came back. So these measure 10 centimeters by 14.4. I have got 1 piece of white, which measures 9.5 by 13.9. The same measurement for my piece of designer series paper, as you can see, is different to my sample. A second piece of white cardstock, and this measures 7 centimeters by 7 centimeters. I've got a die cut frame, and let me show you these dies. So these are called Joyful Squares. And this is what it looks like. So I have used the die for the little frame, but it's got circles. It does have, let me show you this. This is the stamp set, the coordinates. So it does have the die for the leaves to cut those out. It's also got the die for the little photo corners as well. So there's the decorative pieces too. So there's some nice things to use out of this die set. And of course, the Joyful Squares stamp set is really cute. Now, the products I've shown you so far are from the mini catalogue. Okay, so these will be available to order through until the end of April. Okay, so there is also in there some strawberry slush ribbon. There's 25 centimeters of white baker's twine and 2 photo corners. These are done in pretty in pink. So that was just 2 of the dies that I laid together to create those. The stamp set I'm using is not from the mini catalogue. This is called Fabulous Sayings. And this stamp set is the product of the month for this month. To earn the product of the month, place an order of $125 or more, and then you can purchase the stamp set or the papers or whatever the product is for $9. So this is a really nice stamp set. I do like the sayings. I like the fonts as well. And I like that, as I've done with the card sample, I've combined 2 sentiments to create the one that I want. Okay, so let's make this card. Pop those aside. As always, grab your bone folder and fold your card in half. And if you're watching me, please let me know you're there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to be doing is attaching my ribbon to my piece of designer series paper. So as I mentioned, this is strawberry slush ribbon, and I'm placing it where those 2 patterns join. I'm not putting any adhesive underneath because I need to be able to thread my piece of baker's twine underneath to tie that in a bow. Okay, so I'm just using some sticky tape. And of course, the second piece. Okay, so using one of my pieces of strawberry slush, measures 10 centimeters by 14.4, I'm going to be sticking this onto my card front. And I am going to use, as I always do, Stamp and Seal. And I always give the reminders, a light hand because you don't need too much pressure, and just that little tick at the end to break the stream of adhesive. So this is going to be going on around about there. The piece that I've just put my ribbon on, I'm going to be putting this on with some dimensionals. And so I'm going to use some of the minis, and I find using the take your pick tool to pick these little dimensionals up makes it really easy, because I do struggle to pick the individual ones off the sheet. So the take your pick tool, I think, is probably one of the, what I would class as a must-have tool for anyone who enjoys craft. And then again, using the same end, the piercing tool, stab it into the little backing papers on your dimensionals, and they come off nice and easy, and then you have them all in a little bunch on the end of the tool. Okay, and this is going on the front as well. Hopefully straight. Okay, so far so good. All right, I'm going to pop that aside. Next, I need to stamp my sentiment, and this is using the 7 centimetre by 7 centimetre piece of white. I'm using strawberry slush ink, and I'm going to get my sentiment, which I'm doing a thank you because I use a lot of thank you cards. But you could make this for any occasion that you like. So I've got my thank you onto a block, and I'm also going to get the so much as well. Okay, so let me grab a second block for that one. And before I stamp, I am going to be sitting my frame, and I do recommend you do this when you're stamping and you'll need to then put a frame over the top and have that bit of white showing around the outside. Just sit the frame there, then you'll be able to ink up your stamp. And as always, I am going to do on a scrap piece of paper, just a practice run. Inking up, and the thank you, and we've got so much. Now with these stamps, if you are using 2 centimetre stamps that are the photopolymer like these ones are, you can mount them on the one block and stamp them in one hit if you choose to. For me, I prefer, when I can, to keep those separate. But if I was to do this on multiple cards, if I was doing thank you cards for a special occasion, I would mount them both on the one block and do one stamp rather than 2. Okay, so my next job, I need to stick my strawberry slush frame down onto the piece of white. I am going to be using some Tombow. I'm assuming because it's been a warm day, this is going to be a little bit oozy when I take the lid off. So I'm going to get just a piece of paper towel just in case it does that, because I think it will. So some paper towel or some scrap paper just to stop that from oozing. And it hasn't, which is a surprise. So I'm going to use just some smaller drops. So that's all you need. You don't need too much of it. And this is going over the top. And I just want to make sure it is stuck on straight and centered quite nicely. And of course, with your Tombow, you do have a few moments to wiggle it to get it into the right position if you need to. I haven't done a fabulous job of sticking that on straight, so I'm just going to wiggle that a little bit. before it completely dries. And it's warm in my house, so it has dried fairly quickly, but I think I'm happy with that. Okay, so next on this piece, I do have my little photo corners that I need to attach. Again, a little bit of Tombow. Oops, I think I put too much on. And they will go on corners on the diagonal. And of course, your little photo corners. If you're doing memory keeping, these are going to be really cute on your photos. Again, some Tombow. And going on the diagonal. Okay, so that is that bit there. Next, I'm going to be putting some dimensionals behind my sentiment and sticking that onto my card front. So this is a design that is going to work really nicely for any occasion with any papers. If you don't have the paper that like I've been using, use a different section each. Okay, so this is probably 3.5 or 4 centimeters. Let me just measure it to give you an idea if you'd like to remake this card using different designer series paper. So it's about 3.5 to 4 centimeters in width for this section. And then you've got your second section. So you can have these as separate pieces of designer series paper. Okay, so some dimensionals. And I'm going to just put a couple down this side. My ribbon is going to go here, so I'm not going to put any dimensionals to go on top of the ribbon. So for those who are watching, if you've left comments, I'm not seeing any come up, so I'm not ignoring you, I promise. All right, so taking up those little papers and onto my card front. Okay, my next thing I need to do is finish the front off by putting my piece of baker's twine. Now, I need to thread the baker's twine underneath this piece of ribbon, and sometimes I struggle with that, so I've got some reverse tweezers, which are absolutely amazing to use with your craft. I'm going to slide that underneath the ribbon. Open it out, grab hold of the ribbon and pull it through. For me, that's much easier than trying to get your baker's twine to thread through. Okay, and I'm tying a bow that is going to be like a shoelace bow. I am pulling that a little bit tight to cinch that ribbon in a little bit. Okay, and finish off the bow. Now, the other thing you can do as well, of course, is tie your bow and then attach it with a glue dot. Okay, I'm struggling to get that nice and tight, so I'm going to use my tweezers again to hold that tie, which then allows me to tie the last part of my bow. Okay, and then remove the tweezers. So there you have your bow tied as well, which, as I mentioned, will cinch in that ribbon just a little bit and a little bit of a trim up as well. Okay, so we've got just the inside to finish, which is using the second piece of strawberry slush and our second piece of white. So, again, some Stampin' Seal on both of these layers. Okay, so there is number one and the second layer of Stampin' Seal. To go on the inside of my card. Now, of course, if you've got your kits in front of you and I'm moving a bit too fast, the replay is going to be shared straight away. So you'll only have, once I finish, you'll only have to wait just a short time to see the replay. And of course, you'll be able to pause it or stop it as you need to. So that is card number 1. So you may have papers that are the same as what I've used. You may have something slightly different. But I did make sure that all of the papers or all the pieces I cut were quite pretty. So card number 1. All right, so let's go in with card number 2. So card number 2 has been used to, designed to use up strips of the designer series paper. So a lot of these strips I've cut, and it's all from the same packet of paper. These strips have just been cut from offcuts. Okay, so these are little bits that I've cut off. For example, when I was cutting the cardstock to make the first card, some of these pieces are offcuts. So I will share with you what's in the kit. Again, I'm using the same stamp set, which is Fabulous Sayings, which is this one here. And I'm also using the same ink pad, which is Strawberry Slush. With this card and this design, again, any designer series paper is going to work for it. Any colours, any sentiment. You can use a nice bold frame if you want to. I've just cut the piece of white cardstock. So let's go through what is in your kit. Hi, Carol. Thank you for joining me. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad you like the card so far. Okay, so for this card, let me just pop that up a little higher. A half sheet of thick white A4, which I have scored ahead of time. 2 pieces of Strawberry Slush, and these measure 10 centimetres by 14.4. And 2 pieces of white cardstock. These measure 9.5 by 13.9. So those measurements I hope sound really familiar because they are a measurement that I use all the time. So my piece of white for the sentiment, this one measures 10 centimetres by 3.5. And the strips of designer series paper that I've used measure 2.5 centimetres by 7.5. So all of my strips on this card are all the same size. Okay, so that is what I've got. You may have the same strips that I've used on the sample card. You may have something that looks like this. You may have something a little bit different again. It's all going to work no matter what patterns you've got. Okay, and of course there is about 90 centimetres of baker's twine. Okay, so let's start this card. So as always, I'm going to fold my card base in half. And always when you're folding, whether it's a card base or whether you're making a nice box, use a bone folder. All that does is make that fold nice and crisp. Okay, I can put that to one side. I'm going to be positioning my pieces of, or my strips of designer series paper onto one of the pieces of white that measures 9.5 by 13.9. So you can have them lined up nice and straight like a soldier, or you can have them on a little bit of an angle. It is 100% up to you what you want to do with your card. So I am just placing them roughly where they're going to sit. And they're going to sit something kind of like that. So however you do it, like I said, if you want yours lined up like a little soldier, you do that. It's totally up to you. And this is where some of your own creativity can come into these cards, because you can choose to make it any way that you please. I'm going to be using some Tombow to stick these on, and I'm going to be sliding them out. A little bit of Tombow. And then that one is going to go around about there. So I do have my order sorted, and just one at a time, some Tombow. And again, I am using the Tombow because this gives me a few moments to wiggle my strips into place. Okay, so as you can see, I do have a different piece. I've still stuck with the same sort of colour tones that I have used in my sample. Oh, this one is going just a little bit lower. And then we've got the strawberry slush piece. And of course, don't forget about the patterns you might have on the other side of your designer series paper as well. Okay, we've got 2 more to put on. So yes, if you've got those offcuts of your designer series paper, this sort of card is perfect. And I think over the years I've shared cards using the strips and the offcuts. It just saves wasting those because it'd be a shame to throw those out. Okay, and there is the base of the card done. So where those pieces land, it's actually going to work really nicely. Okay, my next job. I've got my piece of baker's twine, which as I mentioned is around 90 centimetres. So there it is there. And I'm going to be wrapping this around my card a couple of times. So I'm leaving some length there, maybe about 10 centimetres or so, and wrapping this one around about twice. And I'm going to be tying a bow, which I just need to allow a little bit more. Oops, I'm going to end up with a knot. Let me start again. Because I really don't want my baker's twine to knot up. You're probably going to want about 15 centimetres or so hanging off the card and then wrap twice. That's better. I think the first time when I said 10 centimetres, I don't think it was quite enough. And then I'm going to be tying my bow. And again, I am going to use, I've pulled the start of the bow tight, and I'm going to get my reverse tweezers and hold on to that where I've tied that knot, or the start of the shoelace tie. And then I can tie the rest of the bow. Now this one I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and it kind of is a little bit flopsy on the card. Okay, remove that. And as mentioned, it is a little bit of a loose bow, and I'm going to carefully move that along. And there you have, as mentioned, a little bit of a flopsy mopsy bow. Okay, so I am going to be sticking these bits onto the card, then I'll do the little bit of stamping. Okay, so I have my card base. I have one of my pieces of strawberry slush. This measures 10 centimetres by 14.4. And my stamp and seal. Okay, and this onto my card front. Okay, for so those who are watching, whether you're watching live or later on, what do you do with your scraps of designer series paper? Do you keep them to use on another creation, or do you not, perhaps you're not sure how to use them? I'm just curious how people, I guess, or what people keep and what people throw into the recycle. I try to keep as much of my designer series paper that I haven't used as possible. So even the smallest little strips I find are really useful, even to decorate the inside of a card. But maybe I need to challenge myself to use those little offcuts a bit more so that I can share those ideas with you as well. Okay, and of course, stabbing into the little backing papers from the dimensionals. Piecing tool is the best. to do this. It just makes it so much quicker and easier. Okay, so this is going onto my card front. Again, hopefully we stick it on straight, but it is a handmade card, so it's totally okay if you don't. All right, so next I've got my sentiment, which is going to be going around about there, and I think I've put my bow in a good spot. So I've got Happy Birthday from Fabulous Sayings, which is a nice big sentiment. I do like a bold sentiment on a card because then you can go ahead and use some stamping or designer series paper. And I think everyone knows how much I love my designer series paper. I do get through a fair bit of it, and I really love creating classes using it because it is a really amazing product to use. Okay, so Happy Birthday. I'm wondering if I might use a bigger block. There we go, that's better. So my Happy Birthday, I've got my Strawberry Slush ink. And I do have, of course, my piece of paper just so that I can do a test run. And I hope other people do a test run when they're stamping as well. I always like to, because the one time I don't, the stamp's either going to be upside down or stuck on the block the wrong way. Okay, so simply centering my stamp over my piece of cardstock. And then you have your Happy Birthday. And of course, close the ink pad before you put your hand in it. So I'm not sure if my video is working well tonight because I have had a couple of messages saying it's a slow connection and I have noticed a couple of pauses. So I do apologize for that. Hopefully it's not too bad on your end. So Happy Birthday. I will be sticking this on again with some dimensionals because all cards deserve dimensionals. Okay. And I'll just put a couple more on. I'm going to leave the dimensionals more to the sides, and the reason for that is because my baker's twine is going to be sitting across the middle here. And if you put dimensionals there, it kind of sits up and is uneven. I like everything to sit nice and flat under the dimensionals, so that's why I put no dimensionals in the middle of this piece. Okay, and we'll flip the backs off using the piecing tool and onto the card front, which is kind of almost centered and hopefully straight. And then you have your nice bow next to it. Okay, very simple to finish the inside. I've got my second piece of Strawberry Slush. This one measures 10 centimeters by 14.4. And I've got my second piece of white, which measures, actually it's like the third piece of white. This measures 9.5 by 13.9. So I'm going to stick these together with Stamp and Seal, and then Stamp and Seal and get this onto the inside of my card. Okay, so around about there, and again some more Stamp and Seal, and this finishes the inside of the card. If you have some extra little thin offcuts or strips of designer series paper, pop it on the inside, and that also just gives another little surprise when the person opens your card. And there, that is there. So that is it. That is the two nice quick cards for the February free class. Okay, let me bring in the first one. So here they are here. So just in case you missed the first little bit, a couple of reminders. One very time sensitive reminder, free shipping. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time on these reminders, just the important ones that you need to be aware of. Free shipping, this ends tomorrow, so you still got tonight and all day tomorrow evening to get your orders in. So you'll save a minimum of $6.95 on your order. If you get it in with the free shipping, there is the minimum spend of $65 to get that. As I mentioned earlier, I do have a group shipping code going for those who live locally and who may only have a couple of things that they would like to get. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about the join promotion. Next week's classes, please join me on Tuesday and Thursday for Facebook Lives. Thursday is going to be another technique like I shared last week. And of course, February monthly card class, registration for this one closes tomorrow. March retreat, registration closes on the 28th. That is all I've got for you tonight. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Carol. I'm really pleased you're here. And I know there were some other people watching as well. So thank you so much for watching. And if you're watching on replay, thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to join me on the replay. So I will be back next Tuesday. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone then. And of course, if you have any questions about placing your order to take advantage of free shipping, please message me. Or if you'd like help to place your order, please message me probably by 5 p.m. tomorrow, just to give me time to do some follow-up with you if I need to do that. So thanks again, everyone, for watching. Until next week, take care, and I'll see you then.